What's up, sisters and brothers? Hope it's been an awesome week for you. It's been a great week for me. A lot of interesting news happening surrounding Tesla and cryptocurrency and volatility and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Had a great week of the Money Savage podcast. Had Larry Swedroe, a brilliant investment expert. Brilliant investment expert. Be nice to be referred to that, wouldn't it? Talking about this idea of shrinking alpha. And in terms of investing, alpha is obviously when you try to get a return better than the returns of whatever the stock market gets. So are you able to beat the S&P 500 index, for example? And Larry tells us that the number of money managers that's actually able to do that year after year is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And a lot of that is due to technology. So very interesting. We had Greg Lewin, who is also an investment expert. He was a 30-year Wall Street insider, and he had a really crazy, super interesting, kind of scary perspective on how a lot of what's happened in investing, the risks associated with investing, have been shifted to the investor almost completely. So if you think about it, he's really right. And also how we have very few options for investing our money these days. Certainly with our retirement accounts, it's really only equities. So we have to invest in equities, and we bear all the risk of investing in equities. So pretty interesting conversation. We had Elise Glink on talking about how worksite benefits are a great way to help people with financial literacy and get better outcomes for your overall financial situation. And finally, we had Allie Mann on talking about the personal loan industry and how that's exploded for, in my mind, for the worse over the past couple of years with fintech and all this other stuff that's made smaller amounts of money, $30,000 and less. It's not a small amount of money, but it's not $100,000 or $200,000 available to a lot more people. So anyway, interestingly enough, there is, looking at it from a global perspective, if we don't get our acts together, if we don't start saving our own money and preparing ourselves to actually stop working at some point, then the government is going to be totally reliant. We're going to be totally reliant on the government for our money, and that's not going to be a good result. And it's not going to be a good result because a couple of things are going to happen. Either one, they're going to force us to start saving money, or number two is they're going to tax us more and more and more, because they have to have some way to provide for millions and millions and millions of Americans when they stop working. And if you don't think that's possible, you can look out to Australia, because Australia has a forced retirement savings program in place. And I wasn't really that aware of it. And frankly, I'm still not that aware of it. I'm just aware that it exists. And everybody has to pay into it. And you say, well, isn't that Social Security? Well, yes and no. Social Security was never supposed to be your only source of retirement income. It was really supposed to be just a very, very, very small security net for you. But if we don't start saving, that will start coming. And I think one of the things that prompted me to start looking at scenarios like that are, there was an article that came out that Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae, I always confuse those two, are offering a form of guaranteed rent control, sort of national rent control. And you're aware of, we're probably all aware that rent control exists in really big cities. If you got in 1950, you're maybe still paying $300 a month for an apartment today in Manhattan. So the landlord can't increase rents on you to get you out, for lack of a better term. But again, there's a national program that is starting to offer a form of that. And if you're interested in that, you should check that out. So anyway, gut check time. Another grown-up truth is that if it's to be, it's up to me. When I say me, I mean you and me and you. If you are concerned about the things I've just said, well, then do something about it, because that's the only way that this is going to change. And I know that you can do it. That's the reason that I'm sharing these messages. That's the reason I do the podcast, is I know that you and all of us are perfectly capable of being financially successful, of having great money habits. So again, you can do this. We need you to do this because again, we are all in this together. So have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you later.